If you thought India would respond to the cold-blooded murder of 26 innocent citizens with a dramatic all-at-once strike like Balakot, you'll have to hold that thought. This time, India is playing a longer game. The first hit has landed, hard and precise. India has suspended the Indus Water Treaty. That's no small move. The treaty feeds rivers that fuel 23% of Pakistan's already struggling economy and sustain over a third of its workforce. This isn't just retaliation. It is a body blow. Not a Spice 2000 bomb, but something far more devastating. A glacial chokehold that could leave an economic crater wider and deeper than any airstrike. And many believe this is just round one, and the military option is still on the table. To discuss what happened, India's response, in particular the military one, I'm joined by General VP Malik, former Chief of Army Staff of India. General Malik led the Indian Army's glorious efforts during the 1999 Kargil War. It's an honor, sir. Thank you for taking the time and talking to us.
Thank you, Abhishek. It's pleasure. My pleasure.
Right, sir. So my first question to you, sir, what do you think of India's response? India has decided to suspend the Indus Water Treaty. The Wagah-Atari border has been shut, among other things. Do you think this is an appropriate response?
Abhishek, firstly, we must understand on an occasion like this, the kind of response that we have to make will have to be multidisciplinary. It's not just military. It has to be political. It has to be diplomatic. It has to be economic. And military. And in the military, both it can be overt, it can be covert also. So these are all the options which are available with the government, and they will consider that and apply that, whichever is considered appropriate at the time of choosing, our choosing. So as you said yourself, that it has already begun. We've started with the diplomatic as well as economic option of Indus Water Treaty. So as far as the other options are concerned, we still have to wait. And that will be decided and launched at an appropriate time.
Right. And what do you think of the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty in particular? Because, of course, a massive section of Pakistan's workforce and, of course, its economy depends on the water which flows through India and into Pakistan.
You're right. Now we can make use of the water which is flowing through our rivers into Pakistan. The western side of the rivers like Jhelum, Chenab, and Indus. So we can make full use of them, whether we want to construct any dams or we want to store that water. That is now option available to us. That is one. Secondly, we must also remember that the flow of water flowing into Indus, it's not going to stop tomorrow. It will take time because we need to make use of it with some infrastructure which is required. Infrastructure is necessary in terms of dams, in some storage space, etc. So that is going to take time, but it has now given us the freedom to make full use of the water that we want to.
Right, right. So you have commanded the Indian Army. You must have heard Asim Munir's speech made less than a week before the attacks actually took place. Do you see a link between the horrific massacre of Indians in Pahalgam and the speech made by Asim Munir?
Firstly, I must say that I was quite disappointed that a man in uniform was speaking the kind of language that he did on that day. You don't expect a man in uniform to be speaking that kind of language. I would call it not just rhetoric, but the kind of random thoughts coming, political, religious, all those things. So that is one aspect I didn't like. But the other aspect is now that incidents have taken place in Pahalgam, and also there have been 2-3 incidents in the last few days, I think there is a direct connection. And let's not forget ever that all these terrorist organizations are controlled by ISI, and ISI is part of the Pakistan Army. So whatever is done are not done by ISI and these terrorist organizations of Pakistan. They are all controlled by Pakistan Army. and the Pakistan Army chief.
Frankly, it was shocking to hear the kind of things he was saying. Firstly, I mean, there were too many things. There was a lot of mumbo jumbo in there. And then, of course, to hear him talk about to bring in religion, while Pakistan definitely claims that, minorities are safe in Pakistan. We all know the reality. But for an army chief, like you mentioned, sir, it was really shocking the kind of things that he was saying. But also, sir, do you think, as Pakistan has been alleging that India has been involved in what is happening in Balochistan and the attack that took place on a train where Pakistan army personnel were killed by the Baloch insurgents, and Pakistan is trying to say that India has been interfering there. In his speech, Asim Munir mentioned Kashmir is India's jugular. Do you think, he was trying to retaliate in some fashion, because this is, of course, has been a Pakistan's fantasy that India interferes in everything that goes wrong inside Pakistan?
There was a lot of ranting that he did. But as far as linking India with whatever is happening on the in Balochistan or on the Afghan front, I think that is only trying to pass the buck to us, or trying to put the blame of their own failings. They have themselves failed to check all these activities of the Baloch as well as of the TTP Afghanistan. And that is one way of trying to pass the blame to India, so that nobody can blame the Pakistan Army's failures. So that is what was going on in his mind, I think, when he did that. But then, you must remember, now, person like Asim Munir, these people have grown up under General Zia, who was a total Islamist. In fact, he encouraged Islamist activities and thought process in the Pakistan Army. And a person like Munir, they have grown up with that kind of atmosphere. And that is why he was talking so much about, two-nation theory, and also that Hindus and Muslims are two different communities. They have nothing to do with each other. They have no totally different kind of. So the kind of rhetoric and these things that is coming from a generation which has grown up under General Zia. And they are trying to pass the blame to us for their own failures. There are a lot of failures which are now being faced by Pakistan, and particularly by Pakistan Army. Everybody knows it. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, you have the army controlling the politics and not the other way around.
Right. Asim Munir is a man who has a country, an army, nuclear weapons, and of course some terrorists at his disposal as well, unlike other army chiefs. Having said that, sir, I want to take you back to the attack itself and talk about, of course, trying to figure out how this could have happened, or if this could have been prevented as well. So those two aspects. Now, Pahalgam, sir, is, of course, talking about the area itself. Amarnath Yatra is going to start in about 60-70 days from now. This is very close to that route which is taken by Yatris where this massacre happened. Why, in your opinion, you're familiar with the area, why, in your opinion, the army or, the members of Jammu Kashmir police and other forces were not there? Could this have been prevented?
Abhishek, firstly, the location and the timings, both are important.
Right.
It was a horrific incident which has taken place. There is no doubt about it. Now, as far as the timing is concerned, these kind of timings are, we've seen it earlier also when President Clinton had come with, I think, 2000. And yes, that time 2000. These people carried out a massacre of 36 Sikh villagers near Srinagar.
Yes.
And anytime there is a visit from senior political leaders from USA or other countries, they try and stage these things. Secondly, timing wise, you see, this is just the right time when the tourists from India start going to Kashmir, and in large numbers. Probably this is the largest number that we have seen visiting Jammu and Kashmir. And places like Pahalgam. Now, Pahalgam is on one side of Srinagar. the army's location, the nearest unit from Pahalgam is quite a bit of distance. There is a place called Ash Maqam, and that is where the army is located. And
Right.
most of these areas are covered by the police. Now, I would say that we should have carried out some assessment earlier that when the tourists start spreading out, do we have some presence there? Do we have some kind of surveillance in those areas? And I think that has been one area which needs to be investigated. If not, why not? Why didn't we think of these things? That is one aspect. That the other thing is that we have a unified command now functioning under the governor of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory. So we have to go into details. How effective is this unified command in terms of getting intelligence? Why didn't we get any intelligence at all of these people who have apparently been there for quite some time? And they have infiltrated. Again, we have to investigate why and how this infiltration took place. Who are the overground workers who have helped them to reach that place? But because there is absolutely no doubt that it was a very well planned and recce uh, incident that took place. So they have been helped by some locals also, some overground workers. So all these aspects need to be investigated, and wherever there have been some lapses, they need to be corrected. That is as far as the location and the incident which has taken place, where we have failed in terms of intelligence and being able to check this, prevent this.
Right. And I also want to talk to you about the sociological aspect of this. And that is, of course, in previous attacks, allegations were made. And of course, in some cases, they were found to be true that these militants happen to have some local support as well. What do you think happened this time? Because, of course, these 6 militants who were there and who executed, who cold-blooded murder, that's what they did in Pahalgam. Do you think they had the kind of support? Because we've been hearing these are well-trained terrorists. Some of them are foreign-born, 4 in this case. And they were doing all things, in isolation. The local population may or may not have known. What's your opinion, sir?
Firstly, we must appreciate that the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, as far as public is concerned, as far as this development progress is concerned, the trading activity, that has improved considerably ever since Article 370 has been lifted from there. And by and large, last year I went to Kashmir and I found that the attitude of the people, particularly the young people, is definitely now changing. And they realize that there is much to be said and much to be progress. Much progress is possible when they are part of India. So that realization is now dawning amongst most of the Kashmiris. But having said that, there will always be some overground workers, and they have some incentive to be guiding, to act as guides, or to help help the people who come from across this thing. Now, I believe that at least 4 or 5 may have been from abroad, from the other side, from Pakistan. Why? Because if they were locals, they would not have asked people to remove their trousers. They would be able to identify who's a Muslim and who's a non-Muslim. But these people were trying to identify the Hindus or non-Muslim before shooting them down. So that just goes to show that these people were not locals. They were overground workers, maybe some close by areas, but they were there to guide them and to help them in carrying out the shooting.
And after the shooting, it was some of the locals, because this place, I mean, you have to walk up there. There is no Pakka road. So they were brought down by the locals, and without their assistance, this perhaps would not have happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. So there are these exceptional cases where are overground workers, but they are probably now much lesser in number. But the fact is that there are a few of them. That doesn't mean that the majority of locals they are helping.
Exactly.
That is not correct at all.
Exactly. All right, sir. Towards the end, one thing which I definitely want to talk to you about is, of course, the military option. Because, a lot of people are saying that this is, of course, the first punch which has been delivered. What about a military option? Do you think a military response is also possible? And if yes, then hypothetically speaking, what could it perhaps look like?
Look, it depends on the decision which is taken in the Cabinet Committee of Security. Now, Cabinet Committee of Security has, under the Prime Minister, has Foreign Minister, Defense Minister, Home Minister, and Finance Minister. They met for the first time yesterday after the incident, after they had been briefed by the Home Minister. Now, that kind of a decision will be taken by them. What I would like to say here, that whatever decision is taken, because I also feel that that Pakistanis have crossed the red line and some action needs to be taken. It should be not in isolation. It should not be Army, Navy, or Air Force. It has to be all combined. We have to look at the capability that we have in our armed forces and police and other security agencies, and then make use of it in the best, most effective manner. So that requires a certain amount of planning, that requires the correct timings, and that requires a lot of coordination. So these decisions, whatever is taken on the military side, I'm now talking of only the overt military and not the covert military, the overt side, that perhaps decision may have been taken or may be taken, but I have a feeling that something will happen and it will not be, it will come as a surprise to Pakistan, and it will be considered not just one service, but they will be considering all the services and all the intelligence agencies that are available with this, with our government, all the instruments which are available with the government.
Right, sir.
And there is this covert option also. There is that covert option also. We may not have utilized it earlier, but there is no harm in considering that. And I feel that is also one of the effective measures. And we should look into that, what can be done covertly, along with, whatever I mentioned, overt. But the decision will have to be taken by the Cabinet Committee of Security under the Prime Minister.
Right, sir. When somebody of your stature and experience says that you have a feeling that something might happen, something might be done, we will definitely take it seriously. But on that note, General Malik, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us. It was an honor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you.